we have a passion and I tell my students, I teach at a university, if you don't absolutely love this and feel like I need this to be the full part of myself, I said, don't do it, because the business is so hard. And a course line addresses that.
Hello, welcome everyone to the Anti-Gravity Man podcast. I am here right now with the amazing Linda Talcott Lee. She is an Emmy Award winning choreographer, and she is a Broadway performer and has done numerous Broadway shows and numerous movies, and has worked with Jerome Robbins himself, and has worked with many of the legends and the greats of this industry. And I have been lucky enough to be not only someone that she hired to be in her show, but have we been a friend for many, many years. We won't mention how long. But this week has been a really interesting week because this is the 50th anniversary of A Chorus Line. And Tally and I, Linda Talcott Lee, known as Tally and I did A Chorus Line together. She was the director, choreographer, and played one of the roles, and she cast me in my dream role, Mike. So during this podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about how manifestation and how I was able to manifest my dream through you, and how Michael Bennett was able to create something when he created A Chorus Line that gave so many people opportunities to be able to shine and to show what they do, and how I've kind of followed in that same path of his footsteps, and how interesting that is. So we'll tie those pieces together. But before I do, I just wanted to give you a moment, Tally, to give you the floor to talk a little bit about who you are, and how and what New York means to you, and what the show A Chorus Line and the 50th anniversary means to you.
Oh my gosh. So first of all, A Chorus Line is about us. It is about dancers. It is about dancers of all kinds, all sizes, all ages, except for at that time, age 30, you were maxing out.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone who has been a professional dancer, who has gone down that path for love, literally for love, understands and feels that story. Myself, I played Maggie, who sings at the ballet, and Connie as one character. So Connie Wong, or Connie McKenzie, in this case, is 4'10". I am 4'10". I used to be 4'11 and a quarter, then I shrunk. And my whole life was trying to be a ballerina, but I'm built more like a gymnast. And so I was in ballet class my whole growing up. It was just ballet class, ballet class, ballet class, until I finally realized I'm not going to make it with the bigs because I'm too little. I'm just too little. But I got that training, and that training is what brought me to Jerome Robbins, or it brought him to me. I lived in Los Angeles, as Chris said, and I was doing film and television and theater. I directed and choreographed A Chorus Line, and this amazing human being came in and auditioned for me. He couldn't come to the callback, and this was what was so funny. And I said, well, for Mike, do you do gymnastics? Because that character has to do tricks. And he said, I'm a world-class gymnast. And with such a surety that I thought I had seen him do gymnastics. And he couldn't come to the callback. So I'm looking at the pictures and everything. And I end up calling him, and I said, are you for real?
Because in LA, a lot of people make up things on their resume.
They're not truthful.
So yeah,
a lot. Well, even people in New York aren't truthful sometimes.
all right.
A lot.
I just think truthful.
Okay, yes. And so I called him, and he said, I absolutely am a world-class gymnast. And so I hired him without seeing any gymnastics. He was bar none the best Mike I have ever seen, and continues to have this Peter Pan energy and love. So during that show, there was a backdrop in the green room of the Empire State Building. And during that show,
it was like a big wall painting mural, a big mural on the wall of like, and we're in Los Angeles. I had been living in New York, and I came to LA and did a chorus line with Tally, but there was this mural on the wall in the green room, and so and Tally had yet to be in New York. She was not yet a Broadway dancer.
I didn't even have aspirations. I didn't think I just didn't think I would fit. But what the odd thing is that I fit into New York City much better than I ever fit into Los Angeles, because you have to be an actress and a dancer and a singer, or, any of the triple threats. But I'm definitely an actress when I dance. And so Jerome Robbins, who is the creator of West Side Story, King and I, Fiddler on the Roof, he was a master genius. He was doing his last show. It was a retrospective of his works, and they came in. First day I auditioned for 8 hours of straight dancing. Second day, 4 hours, and I sang. And apparently I was the needle in the haystack. They wanted someone who could believably play a child, and yet do all of his very intricate ballet-driven dance. And then I pointed at the Eiffel Tower, which I'm seeing right now.
Empire State Building.
Empire State Building, which I'm seeing right now outside of Chris's window. And that took me to New York, and it changed my life. And I found that there really was a place here. So a chorus line is definitely about my life, about Christo's life, in so many different ways.
Well, I think that we should first of all, thank you for that. And for that. And it is a full circle moment right now, that moment of being in the green room, me being a New Yorker who'd been already pursuing the Broadway path in LA with you there. And I remember I took a picture of you. I wish I could find that picture of you pointing at the Empire State Building and me saying, that's where you're going to go. Because I knew you were meant for New York. I just knew it.
I had no idea.
But I told her. Anyway, sure enough, here we are now, full circle moment, pointing at the Empire State Building, and together all these years later. We won't count how many. But we'll just say that, a chorus of a North Star. It was like Polaris. It was like the thing that brought dancers to New York City and gave us really a semblance of credibility and a path. So I should probably, a lot of our viewers might not know what a chorus line is, and so I think it's probably important to talk a little bit about that. That really the plight of a chorus dancer is rather intense, in that you have to be able to tap dance, which is one art form. You have to be able to have good ballet technique, which is a whole other art form. You have to have jazz dancing technique, and you have to be an actor or actress as you move, and you have to be able to sing. Now, singing was never part of it until really a chorus line came around. Really, it was not.
Yes, it was.
Was that you always had to sing?
Yeah.
No, before chorus line, you could just be a dancer. Okay, well, maybe in the early days before 1970s, you could just be a dancer. But by the time
sometimes when they had more money, they had a singing chorus and a dancing chorus and some crossover.
Uh-huh.
But in a chorus line, you had to do all three, bar none. Yeah.
And then I added the extra bit of you had to have a specialty skill along with it. Because dancing is extremely competitive. There are so many people who want to be in any given role. And you're up against, and the show is about that process. It's about, a chorus line is about chorus dancers who want to be in a Broadway show, and they have to audition to get into the show against all their friends and other people. And then they get chosen for the show, or they don't get chosen for the show. And that's literally the process of it. And within that brilliant idea or concept for a musical, each individual tells their story of, how they got into dancing and why they dance. And then, of course, there's the ultimate question that happens there. And that question is, what will you do when you can't dance anymore? So the way the show is lined up is that it starts with an audition. Everybody's dancing together. They do a ballet combination. They do a tap combination, and they do a jazz combination. then they show their headshots, and they stand on a line, and there's a cut that there's a director that's there. He's one of the characters, Zach, and he cuts people out, and then he interviews all the people, asks them a little bit about themselves, and has them dance some more, and then he eventually cuts the line down to those people he's going to choose. So it's it's very it's a very intriguing process, because you get to learn about all these different characters, and you get to understand really the life of a dancer. And before this, really, people didn't know. They didn't know what it was to be a dancer or what it took. So for me, coming from Brigham City, Utah, and having no exposure to Broadway at all, or having no and to New York or anything like that, when I saw when the touring show came through Salt Lake City, and I saw the touring show, I saw it and I said, "Oh, that's something I could do. That's a path for me." In fact, the character Mike that Tally cast me in sings a song that says, "I can do that." He says, "I'm watching Cisco pitter pat." Said, "I can do that. I can do that." And then, he tells his whole story, and there's a flip. And I was like, I can do that. And so I was in college at the time, and I was studying dance, and I said, okay, I'm going to have to learn to sing. I'm going to have to learn to dance. I'm going to have to learn to act. I'm going to have to learn to tap. I'm going to have to learn all these things so I can move to New York and I can play that role. Because before then, what do you do with all your skills? You have all this talent and things that are coming out of you, but what do you do with them? And at the time, I think I was a modern dance major at the university.
No way.
Yes, I was.
Huh.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
I was a modern dance major. And it gave me some good structure, for it. But I loved being able to just express myself through dance, and modern is so beautiful that way. But there's not much of a career you can make with it. And if you can sing and you can dance, then you can have,
and you can flip.
And you can flip. That was my quotient. then you can have a career. Mm-hmm. There's shows, there's unions you join, there's a whole business that you have called the business of you. and it's auditioning, and it's and then eventually there's a time when you can't dance anymore. And that's what this show is about. It's about the love, and it's about the loss.
It's about you sacrifice. You can look at it one way. You sacrifice everything for this thing that you love to do. And yet it's not a sacrifice, because most of us feel born to do it. I knew I wanted to be a dancer in the womb. According to my mother, I was either going to be a place kicker or a dancer, because I kicked so hard. And I came out, and it's ballet class, let's go. And I wanted to be a dancer. And it was never a question. I thought about being a nurse for just a moment. And then I couldn't stand the sight of blood. So that's a problem.
But I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So, because I'm a caretaker, you know that about me. But we have a passion that, and I tell my students, I teach at a university, if you don't absolutely love this and feel like I need this to be the full part of myself, I said, don't do it, because the business is so hard. And of course, Line addresses that. It addresses how difficult it is and how cruel it is. It's like you're dancing your tail off, and you've been waiting in line around on the streets of New York since 4 a.m. to get into a cattle call. And there may be 500 people in the room, just women, wanting to get in. And you're that needle in a haystack. And the odds are so small, but it's what I did for love. You sacrifice everything. You go to dance class, you go to voice class, you go to acting class consistently, constantly. You're constantly filling your vessel. And then extra things. Now it's hip hop, and now it's modern, and it's constantly changing, evolving. But if you love it, and if it's what feeds you, then there's nothing like it. And when it's done, and I don't know, for us, it's never...
We'll approach that part later.
It's never really been done.
We'll approach that part later. I don't want to talk about it right now.
If you're looking at it either. If you're looking at what I could do, most of us have done some reinvention. That's what I'm
we're going to address that part later, because that's a really important part of this podcast, because we've both been able to reinvent. But I want to talk a little bit more. I really appreciate the way that you outlined that, especially for an aspiring dancer. Tally now teaches at a university and teaches dancers all the time. And so she's constantly helping people to know what to do to be able to be successful. And I think you put the first one on the line. You have to operate from passion. Mm-hmm. It has to come from your passion. And then I would say also that you have to be tenacious, because the universe is strange. As soon as you choose something and you say, this is what I'm going to go for, this is what I want, the universe says, really? Are you sure? So for me, once I saw Mike and I saw Mike who sings I Can Do That, and I saw a chorus line, I said, okay, this is a path. I'm going to do this. And I set my sights to it. And I started to visualize myself in New York dancing on Broadway. And I started to visualize that character and that role and that show. And I started to put that in my sights. And I said, that's where I'm headed. And I didn't know what manifestation was at the time. I just knew that I had something that I could go for, something I could believe in, something I could do. And it was going to fill in line with my passion, because my passion for movement, because I mean, to fill in a little bit of the story, I was a gymnast. I had always done theater as a kid and even dance as a kid, but I had found success as a gymnast. And I went to the World Games and, made the podium, but realized I was never going to get first place. And so I transitioned out of gymnastics and said, okay, now what do I do? And so I went into dance. And that's what brought me into dance, was knowing that I'd had a knee surgery and I couldn't dance. I couldn't do any more tumbling at that level. And so I went into dance. I went from the frying pan into the fire, not realizing. I thought, well, you don't have to push as hard on the ground to get up in the air. It's got to be easier.
different kind of push.
Yeah. In fact, the knees is actually one of our stories. Okay, so we'll do a little divergence then. So once I've set my sights for that, I was going to head directly towards that, and nothing was going to get in my way. And then the universe was very kind to me, and then it gave me some challenges to say, are you sure? Because while I was doing a competition as a cheerleader, I blew out my knee, and blew it out bad, like full on ACL reconstruction. And they said, okay, well, kid, you're never going to tumble again, and you're never going to have a dance career. And I didn't listen to him, of course, and I rehabbed my knee. It took about a year. It was very, very hard in those days. It took a year just to get back to barely being able to dance again. And then I went back into dancing and trained some more. And then I blew out my other knee. And then they said, dude, you are not going to dance no matter what. There's no chance in hell. And I said to my dad, I said, what do I do? And he said, you know what? He could see the passion in me. He could see that there was something that just could not be squelched no matter what. And he said, just keep putting your one foot in front of the other and head towards your dreams. He was an amazing man. So I did. And I just chose to keep going no matter what. Well, long story short, to get to this, I have two great big scars on either of my knees that literally slice right down my knees and on the inside edge.
They look like half moons on the inside of his knees.
They're pretty intense. Let me see. Can I see from here?
And
can you see that? Anyway,
there they are.
I have that on either side, and
they're prolific.
And so while I was doing this show, I didn't tell. You never tell a choreographer that you've got any injuries. So when I was doing the show, we were already in it, we were running it, and there would be a little break when Paul gave his monologue, and I would put ice packs on my knees in the green room, just because I had to keep the swelling down, because that's just what my knees required. And so one day, I'll let you tell the story.
So I can't remember why I was in the men's dressing room, because usually that's verboten, but I was the director choreographer. So I might have been, I don't think I was giving you notes in the middle. Maybe I was just going in to say hi. And so I see Chris with two ice packs and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, yeah." He takes the ice packs off, and I see what looks like two identical scars on the inside of his knees. And he said, and he puts his knees together, and he said, "I was just born with my knees stuck together at birth, and they had to surgically separate them." And he said, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And then he said, "Yeah, look down at my toes." And he's got on one on each foot, two webbed toes that are actually stuck together. And I was like, "That's remarkable. Oh my God." And I just bought it hook, line, and sinker.
It was a lie, but it was my way of getting around having the director choreographer be concerned about my knees. And that was,
This is the same
she never
one,
forgave me for that.
the same one who calls me with an April Fool's joke most years. Stop doing that, but
Well, she's so easy to get.
I'm really gullible.
Anyway, I love April Fool's. It's my favorite day of the year. And I loved being able to fool Tally with that one. We held on to it for quite a while. And you never really forgave me for it.
Oh, yes, I did.
All right. Well, she forgave me. But the point is, was there a point to that?
No, you just was a diversion.
Oh, it was a diversion.
You were manifesting, and then you diverted into the keys.
Manifesting your dreams. So the universe basically said to me, "Are you sure you want to be a dancer?" And everyone around me said, "This isn't going to happen." And even my teachers at college said, "Well, go give it a shot, but you'll be back. We'll see you for your master's degree." And in my mind, I went, "No, I'm not going to come back to Salt Lake City. I'm not going to go back to school. I'm going to go be a professional dancer." And it took that kind of, I didn't realize it, but while I was rehabbing my knees, which is extremely difficult back in the day, because literally they put you in a cast and all the muscle is just gone off of your leg, and then you have to rebuild it. So you're just working so hard. And I was doing it with the football players at the university. So I'm in there just working it. And as I was doing that, I didn't know it, but I was really building the tenacity that it was going to wind up taking to be a dancer in New York, because it's hard. It's a really hard career. If you have a chance to see the movie A Chorus Line, or if you've ever seen the show, it is highly competitive and really challenging.
Don't watch the movie.
Well, no, some people don't like the movie, but
instead watch every little step.
Oh yeah,
every little step is a documentary of the casting of the last reproduction of Chorus Line, and it's true to life of showing the audition process. Yeah, that tells it. The Chorus Line movie.
The Chorus Line is a cult, basically, and we're
part of it,
and we're all part of that. All those three are all part of that cult, and that we all adore Michael Bennett, and we adore his creation, and part of his. And we felt like the movie was mangled, but it does have the script in there. And for somebody who might be in a foreign country and doesn't have access to come see a live production of it, it would be at least a way to get. I know I hate saying that too.
Every little step.
Every little step. Anyway, so at this 50th anniversary show, it was truly amazing, because some of the people who are the actual stories and are the actual characters were there. And they're now in their 70s and 80s, and only maybe half of them are still alive. But they showed up. And there was something that I got from that was just so fascinating, because it was true about Priscilla Lopez, Don McKechnie, Kelly Bishop, Wayne Salento. I mean, all of them looked great and are aging really well, and are still very vital and still have full careers. Don McKechnie just finished doing Wicked on Broadway. Wayne Salento, I know, is very busy doing choreographing. They all have very busy careers. Kelly Bishop has her TV show. What's it called again?
Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls, yeah. I mean, they all have very busy careers in their 70s and 80s, and they look great. And
really great.
Really great.
Yeah. Jane Fonda great.
Yeah. Yeah,
without all the work. Maybe something.
Who knows about that? And Charlotte D'Amboise was there. She still danced the whole combination full out.
And she did Cassie, which was the star in the show. She's the star, and it was about her life. and Michael Bennett's life. Michael Bennett was Zach. He didn't play Zach, but
Oh, no. I said Charlotte D'Amboise, not Donna McKechnie. Donna McKechnie was the one. Yeah.
But no, I'm saying Charlotte was Cassie.
Charlotte played Cassie and was
Yes.
one of the great Cassies. And she's close to our age, probably. And she still danced that combination full out.
I think she is our age.
Well, she looked great. Anyway, the point is, dancers age well. Maybe not the joints so much, but in terms of cognitive abilities and in terms of vitality and in terms of just, keeping your life going, dancers age well. And I thought about that a lot because one of the topics I talk about a lot is kinesthetic intelligence. And kinesthetic intelligence is, or KQ, is basically the sister to IQ. So you have, well, I guess it'd be all sisters. You have IQ, which is your cognitive intelligence. You have EQ, which is your emotional intelligence. And you have KQ, which is your kinesthetic intelligence. And your KQ you develop every single time that you move your body. And we spend a lot of times as a culture on our cognitive intelligence. That's what our schools are all about, cognitive intelligence. And we're only learning recently about the importance of emotional intelligence. But really, we don't talk about our KQ, our kinesthetic intelligence. And yet, some people excel more cognitively and some people excel more kinesthetically. And we are both kinesthetic excellers. And because of that, we were constantly moving our bodies, constantly training our bodies, and in doing so have built a very high KQ. And that's what I noticed about the dancers at this anniversary as well. Everybody has a super high kinesthetic intelligence. Well, why is that important? Number one, you age better the more intelligence you have, the more body knowledge, body wisdom you have. Number two, healing starts from within, not from without. So you have to be able to understand your body first. You have to know what's going on before you can start the healing process. And if you don't know, then you're at the mercy of every Western medicine doctor or every chiropractor who's going to you go in, you say, fix me, I don't know what's going on. But I know that for myself, I've done a lot of my own healing of my body, and certainly my techniques on the anti-gravity hammock have led towards that because we have this kinesthetic intelligence. Mm-hmm. And the thing I find fascinating about that, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that, cognitive intelligence can now be outsourced. AI is smarter than us and will be exponentially smarter than us very, very soon. And so those people who spend all their time on cognitive intelligence, learning and understanding, and if they didn't gain wisdom, but they only gained information, they're going to be outsourced. But you know what you can't do? You cannot outsource kinesthetic intelligence. The one thing that humans will always have over artificial intelligence is the body, this vehicle that we get to ride for this short blip of a moment in time called life. And so the training that we've done over all these years of constantly getting to know who we are viscerally, not just psychologically, but how our bodies feel, I think it's becoming more and more important that humanity does that. And that's what I've tried to do with anti-gravity. That's what I've been doing with anti-gravity. Mm-hmm. Is I've been taking the kinesthetic intelligence that I have and making it into a tool where other people can also learn, can also grow with their cognitive intelligence, doing three-dimensional movement and having deep tissue massage that frees up tension in the body and gets rid of knots, and having and creating art and beauty with your own lines. So that's what I've been doing. And one of the things that hit me really big on this anniversary was that, in a way, I didn't just follow the path of the chorus dancers of Mike. I can do that. I'm going to go to Broadway. I'm going to flip. But I really took all of Chorus Line to heart because, yes, I did that. I became a chorus dancer. But then I also became another character, which was the associate choreographer character, the assistant director character, which was Larry. I played Larry in a subsequent production, touring through Europe. And in life I did that. And then I grew to become the director. the Zach character, the one who hires people. And in life, I became a director choreographer of my own company. But even more so, I think I was really inspired by Michael Bennett. Because Michael Bennett, in creating a chorus line, created something that actually revived Broadway. In 1974, 74, when he did the tapes, in 75, when he started the workshops, Broadway had most of the theaters were still dark. There was very little happening in New York City, and Broadway was pretty much dead. In fact, New York City was on the verge of bankruptcy at the time.
I didn't know this.
Oh yeah, very much on the verge of bankruptcy, and Broadway helped to bring New York back. They started a whole campaign that brought New York back and brought people back into New York, and that was based on a chorus line and his work. So a chorus line not only revamped Broadway and revamped New York, but it also established a professional dancer within musical theater as a solid career, something that had prestige, whereas before it just was really not appreciated.
Nobody really has the understanding of what goes behind choreography, that goes behind daily, since you're 5 years old or whatever, journey of creating this athletic kinesthetic machine. Nobody understands that unless you've done it.
But isn't that because musicals are all about the singers? You know, when the singers tell the story, and then the dancers support the telling of the story.
I think it's because of ignorance. A chorus line brought to life the work, the pain, the knees going out, the ballet class every day, the auditions, the pains of being cut, the pains of
show closing.
At the show closing, Cassie, who was the character Cassie, but also it was based on Donna McKechnie. She was a star on Broadway, a Broadway star. But the story is she and Michael Bennett had an affair, and he would not cast her because she was too much of a star. And what is in a chorus line, this has happened to me personally in the Twin Cities. The exact Cassie Zach speech is, "You're too good for my ensemble. You're too good to dance in the back row. So I'm not going to give you the job." And Cassie's saying, "I just need a job. I just need to do this. I just need to dance. I don't care. Let me be in your ensemble." And then she had to fit herself into, instead of being a star and throwing extra line that makes her individual, she had to make herself just like everybody else. And so that, like the losing of self, it's about that as well.
The premise of a chorus line was a genius premise in that. But it also inspired me in the way that it created a place for dancers to be and jobs for dancers to have, and a whole genre where people could work and have jobs and express themselves and show who they are and show their talents. And interestingly enough, Michael Bennett became my North Star. Whereas first it was Mike in a chorus line, it became Michael Bennett. I want to create something that creates jobs for people who have a high KQ, for people who have great kinesthetic intelligence. I want to create a place where they can go and be appreciated and be seen. And that was how AntiGravity came to be. But instead of doing it with dancers, I did it with gymnasts and athletes and athletic dancers and artistic gymnasts. And that's how AntiGravity started. And then I took dance up into the air. And that has created thousands, tens of thousands of jobs, still is, for so many artists. In fact, it created a whole new genre, in that the acrobat or the aerialist wasn't really anything when I first started the business. And the dancer who can go up into the air, or the gymnast who can express themselves artistically, the professional acrobat, became a whole new piece in the entertainment industry, and having aerials in your show became a new aspect of what you want, something you want to have in your show. And so Anti-Gravity forged new territory that way. In fact, we took the aerial arts out of the circus and we revived the acrobatic arts, really, that had been dead for a very long time in America. And in doing so, I'm like the Michael Bennett of my very small circle. And I don't say that, I say that very humbly, but I say it not to compare myself to Michael Bennett, but more so to say, by having that North Star of someone who created something magnificent that then he shared with the world, he inspired me. So art imitates art and art inspires art. Mm-hmm. And Anti-Gravity is definitely my art, and I feel like for me to see his production, for me to see Michael Bennett's show, A Chorus Line, and then for me to get cast in the role by Tally, and then for me to head towards that so clearly with my vision, it took me down a beautiful and interesting path. And life is about the journey. It's not about the destination. I didn't know that. I thought, well, the destination is to be a Broadway dancer. And then I got there and then, okay, now what? Well, then I had to have the next destination. Well, the destination is to be a director. And I got there and I said, well, now what? Well, I guess the destination is to have my own company. I got there and I said, well, now what? I guess the destination is to create something that goes around the world and creates its own genre and creates jobs for everybody and creates opportunities and gives people a chance to shine in aspects that really didn't exist before. So in that way, A Chorus Line was incredibly influential for me. And I will always be grateful for you for casting me as Mike.
I was grateful for you accepting.
I want to talk about one other piece of the show because this is an important aspect. And it's something that we're dealing with now as much as we were back then. So a Broadway dancer really, in this show, it shows that by the time you're 30, you're old. And as a gymnast, by the time you're 25, you're old. So we're constantly chasing the clock. Mm-hmm. And the question comes up in A Chorus Line, what will you do when you can't dance anymore? And that's what Zach, the director, asks of the line. And it brings up a lot of emotions. And my favorite song, and from the show, certainly the anthem of the show, is answers that question. And that song is What I Did for Love. And that's really very much that's the theme of the show, and it's certainly the heart of the show. Mm-hmm. And every single day that you perform in that show, you have to face that. Mm-hmm. And I think that by having to face that very difficult question every day was also part of how I created Anti-Gravity, because I knew that the gift was ours to borrow. That it wouldn't last forever. And especially because I'd already had knee surgeries. And so A Chorus Line gave me the drive to continually keep creating, to keep building something so that when tomorrow came, I wouldn't have to let go of all of my passion. I just have to reinvent it. And you've certainly done the same thing, constantly reinventing. Although, the thing that's interesting about Tally, she still has her career as a dancer and as a choreographer and director.
I did not know that was going to be possible.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, what you're doing, what are the shows you're doing?
I will be performing in White Christmas, which I did last season. I don't even want to tell you how old I am, but I'm up there.
Twice the age of all of the other ensemble members.
I am twice the age of the other ensemble members.
And twice as good a dancer too.
I'm dancing in the ensemble side by side, which is a whole thing that now casting has changed a lot. There's a lot of equity and inclusion, which I appreciate. But I never thought I would. Cheetah Rivera is one of my heroes. Mm. Cheetah Rivera was the original Anita in West Side Story on Broadway. And she danced into her 80s. On Broadway. And I just said, you know what? I can do that. I can do that. I can, because I'm still fit. And I'm doing that. And I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I'm kidding myself. I can't do that anymore. But
she's not just dancing in the ensemble. she's also what you're directing, you're choreographing.
Then I'll be choreographing their next show, which is Guys and Dolls. One of my passions has become.
Wait, and you're teaching at a university?
I'm teaching at the university. I'm doing all those things all at once. Yay.
So in other words, you find ways to reinvent, and you stay within your passion. And back then, the question came, what will you do when you can't dance anymore? And it really was a question about reinvention. So, again, to have something written so beautifully about the path and the choice to be a performer, and then to have to face that every single night really gave us a way to continually expand and to grow and to keep the passion alive.
Mm-hmm.
So the lyrics to the song "What I Did for Love" are extremely poignant because they basically tell the story within it, and they go like this:
Kiss
Kiss today goodbye, the sweetness and the sorrow.
sorrow. Wish me luck,
The same to you.
And I won't forget what I did for love.
What I did for love. Look, my eyes are dry.
The gift was ours to borrow.
It's as if we always knew. And I won't forget
what I did for love. What I did for love. Gone. Love is never gone.
As we travel on, love's what we'll remember. Kiss today goodbye. And point me towards tomorrow.
We did what we had to do. Won't forget.
Can't regret.
What I did for love.
What I did for love. What we did for love.
What we did for love.
Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I'm so honored.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Full circle.
Yeah, full circle moment. And thank you for being in my life. And thank you for casting me as Mike. And thank you for being part of this crazy chorus line cult with me.
Yes, yes. I'm honored to be in that cult.
And we will continue doing what we love because that's what dancers do. Thank you so much for joining me on the Anti-Gravity Man podcast. Thank you to Linda Talcott Lee, and signing off.